Hey, it's Jeremy from Jeremy.net. I am a comic book artist, writer, creator, self publisher, and I share my creative process here with you online. If you would like to get additional bonus live streams twice a month, access to a Patreon exclusive Discord server where we share artwork, feedback, process, and more, um, access to a digital archive of all my comic books to read online, you can become a Patreon subscriber for as little as $2 a month. Head on over to patreon.com/Jeremy. That's patreon.com/GERIMI. If you'd like to get a free digital sketchbook, get work in progress animated GIFs delivered right to your inbox, blog posts about what I'm reading, what I'm watching, what's inspired me creatively, you can sign up for my free monthly newsletter at newsletter.jeremy.net. And if you'd like to pick up physical copies of my comic books, or if you read digitally on Comixology or Kindle, you can head on over to amazon.jeremy.net. I'll forward you to my Amazon author page. You can pick up books like my first graphic novel, Eye of the Gods. It is a psychological thriller about a man cursed with visions he cannot control. You can also pick up my most recent project, Morning Star. It's Lucifer's Fall from Heaven, told as a Western. It's an 8-issue series. Volume 1 contains issues 1 through 4. Volume 2 contains the conclusion to the series, issues 5 through 8. Both volumes have extensive back matter, character designs, thumbnails, character sketches, page layouts, and more. There's photo reference, basically showing you how I put the comic together. And there are book flip throughs of all these videos on my YouTube page. If you go to the homepage of my YouTube channel, you can scroll down and you'll see book flip throughs for all those. Get a look at what's inside the book before you pick it up. All right, so on to actual creative work today. So this is not the piece that I'm going to be working on, but I wanted to show you what I've been up to because I've mentioned before that I've been studying for many years with the figure instructor, the great draftsman and visual storyteller Carl Ganas. I'm currently taking a class he's teaching on composition. And I realized that all the stuff that I was turning in for homework assignments, they were just pieces that I was drawing for the class. I was just looking at the assignment, looking at what he was asking for us to turn in terms of things we wanted to exhibit visually. And I thought, I'm not trying that hard, or I'm not trying as hard as I want. Let me put it this way. The images didn't feel like they had as much visual impact, or I wasn't necessarily invested in the process of creating them because I was creating them just for the act of having something to turn in. So I thought for my next assignment, I would switch to a piece that I actually wanted to make an image of and just see what feedback I get on it. So this is yet another of my Medusa Gorgon series. And I had the idea for doing a piece where she's sitting on the throne made of statues. And at this point, let me see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 figures. I wanted there to be 12 and actually have all of these be the 12 Olympians, which, you know, that's the story to itself. It's like, how does Medusa defeat 12 Olympians? So there's not really 12 in here. But that said, I'm going to try and make some of them different Greek gods. Like the one that she's actually sitting on the back of, who's laying down, I need to figure out how to work a lightning bolt into the composition because I actually wanted to have her sitting on top of Zeus. I just thought that was a cool idea. So this is what I'm going to be turning. This is not what I'm going to be working on today, but it's a piece that you're probably going to see in the future with me going in and doing revisions and artwork and design. So that's just what I've been working on in the past few days. And I figured I would show you that at the start of the live stream because of the fact that we're now going back into, well, actually, I guess kind of an explanation as to why I've made almost no progress on this piece. I haven't touched it, you know, since last week's live stream, because I was working on that. I was working on a few other sketches and other things that I had to take care of. So now that we are back to this, I guess we're going to finish up the snakes and move on into value and possibly color. And I see Mercidian Merchant in the chat again. Hey, how you doing? Thank you for showing up. So let's see here. Let me just make sure I'm on the right layer, switching to black. Then let's just get in here and get some digital inking done. Let me see. Do I need to? All right. It's just checking a couple of test strokes to see if I needed to play with the brush size before getting in here. And it's funny because I can definitely feel in the first few strokes, it definitely, whenever I'm starting cold, because I haven't drawn anything today, I haven't done any warm up sketching or working on another piece. When I first dive in, I can very strongly feel the difference between coming into a piece cold versus, oh, I've been drawing and I'm picking up right where I left off. Because to a certain degree, I feel like I need to recapture the flow of this particular illustration, where I was at, what I was trying to capture in all of the brush strokes. So I definitely start out a little bit more tentative at the beginning of a piece. Mercidian Merchant says, hello, YouTube folk. He said, time for snakes on a stream. What's interesting is I've got a wide variety of, probably more horror themed, but a whole wide variety of illustrations I've done over the years on this stream. So it hasn't just been the snakes, but I bring that up because almost all of the ideas that I currently have for standalone illustrations are just more Medusa slash Gorgon themed concepts. And so I feel like you're making a good point in that I know you're just joking around, but I'm like, it really is becoming like the Gorgon stream. Like it's always snakes. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because there's something to be said for finding a niche, finding a particular thing that you become known for as an illustrator. And I didn't necessarily think that Gorgons were going to be my thing. I didn't set out for this. But as I've been drawing more and more, that seems to be the thing that most of my ideas that are coming tend to be in this vein. So, yeah, more snakes on the stream. Let's see here. And Mercadian Merchant says, may I share a silly art concept I've come up recently? Yes, please, go ahead. This is definitely a place for silliness and goofiness. In fact, I often feel like I can be a little bit too serious and too dry sometimes. So anytime somebody can inject a little fun into the stream, I'm happy to hear it. And I am going to be going a little bit quiet sometimes because as I'm trying to get this drawing, I guess, into its final phase, its final stage of evolution, there's times when I'm sitting here drawing and it's like I'll get a little bit focused on what I'm trying to fix, and I'll come back. I'm like, oh wait, people have been talking in the chat. I need to get back to you guys. And it's funny, I'm also still thinking about how this could be so much more efficient if I went back to the snake scale brush that I was trying to design. And Mercidian Merchant, I don't know if you were subscribed to the channel back when I was doing this, because this was a couple months ago. But I was working on a different Medusa piece, and one of the things I did was I created a brush that that basically just created a pattern of scales. And as I turned my brush stroke, the direction the scales were facing would turn. Um, there's a comic book artist named Stepan Sejic, does Sunstone, Aphrodite 9, Death Vigil, a lot of Top Cow work. I mean, he's done a lot of work for DC and other publishers as well. But I notice he, particularly when he's doing his science fiction work, and he has a lot of repeating textures. He excels at using brushes that you can tell that they are a technical brush that's creating the patterns for it, but it doesn't feel stiff. He makes it feel organic and really blends it in to the work in a way that I'm very envious of. Um, but my greater point is that after trying to do that with my work, on mine, like I said, mine do not feel as fluid. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to experiment with more pattern brushes in the future. But I do find that I am far more pleased with the results of these brushes when I'm with the results of the snake illustrations when I come in and I actually draw all of the scales as opposed to using that brush pattern and just, you know, letting that work its way in. But I may come back to it. It might be the fact that I was trying to do it in sort of the color phase, and I might need to figure out how to get these brushes to work when I'm just in my black and white phase. So, um, let's see here. Mercidian Merchant mentions, I love this. The comment's large enough. And by the way, I have no problem with long comments, but I think it's funny that it's large enough that my head is like, oh no, you're hiding me. But they say, I've recently come up with a demon of hand anatomy named Manus, Latin for hands, with hands for wings, um, webbed between the fingers, a hand for a head. Fingernails are replaced by eyeballs. They have many floating hands holding pencils or brushes, but no arms or feet at all. The feet are also hands. I think that's a very, very cool idea. And obviously, that is a great idea just for working on improving your ability to draw hands, which I'm not sure where you are with hands. I find hands continue to be one of the most difficult things to draw. And I do feel like I can draw decent hands, but it is from years of work. As I was mentioning at the top of the stream, studying with Carl Ganas, he has a class specifically on drawing heads, hands, and feet. And I try to take that class bare minimum once a year because I find that no matter how much I have done it in the past, it always needs a refresher. And an illustration like the one that you're talking about is a perfect example of creating a project for yourself that's a perfect excuse to practice something that for most people is challenging to drawing good hands. Um, I know for myself, I haven't done it in a long time, but I have a sketch that I've redrawn multiple times throughout my student phase. I mean, I'm a lifelong art student, but early on, like it's something I think I first sketched in college when I realized I had trouble drawing hands, and then I continued to draw different versions of it in my early 20s. But it was just a head not too different from this head that I have right here, but it was a head sort of looking upward like it was trying to scream. And all you really saw, same way you can only really see the eyes here, but what it was is that the head had hands covering it, like just dozens of hands just climbing up and around and at every angle reaching around and grasping it. Um, so it was not a demon of hands, but it was definitely a drawing that was, I think it was more of an expression of anxiety, but maybe it's anxiety about drawing hands. Regardless, it sounds like it was in the same vein as your demon character, and that sounds like a really, really cool character. It sounds, and I think what would be interesting is to almost hear, well, what are the narratives that might involve this character? If it was a character that you were going to make a video game about, or a comic, or an illustrated story, I think it's a really cool idea, and I think it's a fun one. So good job there. Good on you. Let's see here. Merkidian says, brushing up on the technical side. I doodle when I'm in the mood. Um, I never pay. I don't keep up on web acronyms and shorthand, so I'm not sure what TBH is. And I'm sure everyone else is going to be like yelling at the screen, like "It's this dumbass!" But some acronyms I know, but that one I don't know. But you said not really an artist. Well, you know what? I mean, I honestly think that drawing for a living is very, very challenging. Like even now, I don't make my full-time income from my personal artwork. I do have a creative job. My day job, I'm a toy designer, which is pretty cool. But I don't spend much of that time drawing. It ends up being a lot more graphic design work than it is actual illustration. I need my illustrating skills to do the job, but very little of the job is full on actual illustration. That said, I think drawing just for the sake of making art is one of the great pleasures of humanity. The fact that just the act of making strokes and making marks in a sketchbook, um, or drawing digitally, or however someone wants to do it, just the act of making artwork just for the sake of it, that's one of the things that makes us human. I know my wife is not related to the art field at all, although she does have a very good graphic design sense, as I've seen over recent years. But but I remember she did some painting one time. She went to like a group painting class with some friends, a kind of a wine and paint thing, and she enjoyed it quite a bit. And she does have a couple of sketchbooks, and just from being around me and living with me, she's taken up to sometimes just doodling for fun. And she told me that she was surprised at how gratifying and relaxing it is, because you know as somebody who definitely doesn't do it as a work thing, she felt like I was going to judge her really hard, and she was very stressed about it. And I said, "Don't worry about being good. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just have fun. Draw what you want to draw." Like she has some books on drawing like kawaii and chibi and anime characters. And I said, "Look, if you don't like the stuff that they're showing you there, then just sketch what you want to sketch. Make cute little cartoon pictures of our cats. Do do what brings you joy." It's like the artistic equivalent of Marie Kondo. Ah, there we go. Merkidian Merchant educates the old man. To be honest. Okay, cool. Good to know. I will try to remember that next time I see it. Let's see here. Manus is a joke character born from the lamenting about hands and drawing them from artists I watch. So I thought it would be funny that there's a demon for that, and a warlock artist is all. That's very funny, and it is something that plagues a lot of artists. I think there's something to the fact that just because the face and people's hands are something that we're very intimately familiar with, so when they don't look right, it jumps out at us. And that might be one of the big reasons why artists tend to obsess over them, because we all have things that we're not great at and we work to get better at. But something like drawing hands well, when they are poorly done, they jump out not just at us, but at all of all the viewers. And any given thing that I draw, I can nitpick and I can point out places where things didn't come out the way I imagined them, or I should have used reference instead of letting them just be wonky. I can point out a lot of flaws, but other people who are not me will look at it and say, "Look, it looks fine. It's good drawing." But when you draw something that is blatantly wrong and everyone can see it and call you out on it, those are the things that in my opinion, those are the things that most artists really obsess about, because they're like, it's the emperor being naked. You don't want to be caught up there with people saying you're not an artist, you can't do that, you can't draw like the most basic things. I mean, never mind the fact that a lot of people who, aren't professional artists, they couldn't necessarily draw those things as well. But it's like if you're going to claim the title of artist as a career, people will I mean, I like to cultivate a spirit of encouragement no matter what someone's skill level is. But some people can be very cruel and harsh towards people who don't necessarily have a learned sense, a very well trained sense of draftsmanship. And I mean, I've read reviews of comic books online where people are like just trashing creators. And I'm thinking to myself, one of the things that making comic books has done for me is that it's made me far more empathetic to other creators, whether it's a film, TV show, a comic. When I look at projects and there are things about them that don't come out well, that are flawed, or things that I don't particularly like, I can see why they may have not come out well. And my attitude tends to be, it's a shame that the creator wasn't able to pull the thing off that they were aspiring for. But my instinct, I never go to the idea of you suck and you should never have made that. I really think I try to work from an empathetic place and see that in the same way that I attempt things that are beyond my reach, I think that that's the nature of artwork, is to try things that we honestly don't believe we can pull off. It's that reaching beyond ourselves that is, I think, the inspiring, challenging, motivating, one of the most motivating aspects of creativity. So if somebody does something that just doesn't work, I'm like, well, that's a shame. It's too bad, but I'm glad that they tried. In fact, that's usually my reaction when I see something, a movie or a TV show, and I spent my time watching it, I walked away and I wasn't 100% satisfied. My usual reaction is, well, I'm glad they tried. And honestly, thinking about what didn't work sometimes helps me make creative breakthroughs with things that I'm working on that are not 100% working. So that's all. I try to have empathy for other creatives. Let's see here. Let's see here. 47 is in the chat. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for rolling in there, and happy belated birthday. I know I wished you happy birthday before your birthday, but happy belated birthday now. Zoom out real quick. Yeah, at this point, it's just detailing and finishing up the other snakes. And Mercidian Merchant says, may I share some art I did quite a while back? You are more than welcome to. 47 says, I watched a YouTuber who criticizes some of the worst comics ever made just to know what not to do. Well, I will tell you that I think there is value from listening to critiques, even if they are super harsh, for the exact reason that you said. Like when I'm in figure drawing class and our instructor is correcting people's work, I mean, he's definitely not doing it where he's trying to chew people a new asshole, but as he's showing people places where they can improve their work, places where what they did fell short, the rest of the class is watching intently because we're learning from the mistakes of others. So, that I think is a very, very important part of the creative process, that learning from other people's mistakes so that hopefully you won't make the same ones. I think that that's a very powerful tool. It's just a matter of whether that process is enacted in a kind way or a savage way. Because it might be entertaining to watch someone get have their work get savaged, but even if it's all done in good fun and good jest, I think it's probably just that it's my personality to try and operate to be more empathetic. And you know what it is? I think it's an overcorrection. Not an, I don't want to say overcorrection because I don't. I mean, maybe you can say there's a possibility of being too kind or too empathetic, but when I was a kid, probably like, elementary school and junior high, I'd like to think that I really started turning around in high school. Um, I was not, I really wasn't a bully. I don't think I ever attacked people, but I was not an empathetic person as a child. And I think that as I got older, I recognized that in myself. And I started, I think from about high school forward and into college, I tried to make a concerted effort to be what I perceived as a better person, to really try and look at things from other people's point of view, no matter how much I disagreed with them. Um, I think the world could use more of that, especially right now. So when it comes to stuff like giving someone like, I don't think I'm even capable of doing a tear down of someone else's work. I can give somebody feedback, but when I do, it tends to really be, okay, I see what you're doing here. I see things that are really positive. I tend to have that thing of like trying to point out the positives and then places where I can give helpful tips to make some of the negatives better. I never try to come at it from the standpoint of you suck and I'm going to make fun of you. Um, I mean, I don't. It just it's not in my DNA. But that said, I think that that's a learned behavior from recognizing the potential to be a little bit meaner when I was younger. And sometimes when I'm tired and cranky, the mean Jeremy does creep out, and I am never proud of that person. Let's see here. Um, Merkidia Merchant says, "Are likes in the chat fine?" Yes, please. Yeah, definitely. Please go ahead and like in. Oh, I don't know if you're asking about sharing the work in the chat, because the weird thing is streaming on multiple platforms at once. I'm not sure. I know that on YouTube it doesn't let you share links. I'm not sure if Twitch is the same. Um, I'm not even sure if Twitch, like for all I know, Twitch may let you post full on artwork in the chat, and if it does, go for it. I'm not sure how that will. Oh, links. I'm not sure how that will work, because I know on YouTube it does not let anybody but the host post chats. Um, so you might have to message me through Twitch, and then so I don't think I'll be able to respond to it live here. But if it sends it to me and I can see it later on, then I can always message you back, or we can talk about it on the chat next week. But anyway, yeah. So you can definitely feel free to message me. Usually, that's the thing when it comes to sharing artwork per se. People either have to post links and I can see it on social media somewhere, or it's something where the people that are Patreon subscribers, we have a private Discord server that we share artwork and talk on. So let's see here. And Mercadian Merchant says, "Is it just me, or does the current piece look like a lurking emote?" I'm not sure if you mean like a lurking emoji, but it is a lurking. I'm not sure what an emote is, but the lurking term is definitely absolutely what I was going for. I wanted this to feel almost like a shark. Like I wanted the eyes to feel very sensual, but I wanted everything else on the piece to raise your sense of alert. Let's see here. Oh, like an emoji. Okay. It looks like a little beehive. Yeah. Cool. 47 is says, in a world of apathy, empathy is the punk movement. Well, then let's rock on with our empathetic punk. But yeah, Mercadian Merchant, if you try to post a link and it doesn't work, then I will then however you're able to send messages. Because here's the thing, because I'm using a StreamYard and I'm just getting all of the feeds at once. I've never really looked at the Twitch interface for streaming, so I'm not sure what it does or doesn't allow. I'm not sure which what things will come through, and I haven't even really looked at what the individual messaging on there is. So as far as I'm concerned, try it. If I can see it, oh, it says it works. Okay, oh, I see. All right, so let me take a look. Hang on, I don't want to show the links. I'm trying to see how I can copy them from here and paste them so that I can look at them. Let me see. Let me zoom back out. I'll just take a look at the first one because I don't know. Let's see. Because otherwise we'll get caught up looking at a bunch of links and I'll stop drawing. Let me see. Oh, wait, I think I know what I want to do. Let me see if this will let me copy. Yeah, that's the downside is it's not letting me, I can't click on the links and I can't copy them. So I can see them. I'm just going to try and enter the URLs directly. Yes, I know this is riveting, riveting live stream. Let's see. It's trying to load. It's trying to load. It's having a hard time loading. Ah, I see the King of Hearts. It came up. Sketched on some graph paper. The blindfold. Cool. Cool. It's a nice piece. And I find that when trying to work on proportion or working on early design stuff, I actually find you don't see me doing it as much on here, but that's because a lot of times it's when I'm having proportion problems or if I specifically need perspective. Then when I'm drawing digitally, I will here we go, drawing guide. So you see the grid that's on here. The nice thing about Procreate is it can give you just a standard grid. You can change the scale of the grid to make the squares bigger or smaller. And then you can also switch to proportion. But drawing on grid paper, I think, is really good if you're trying to work out proportion issues. And sometimes for compositional issues, you can use those squares to count off and really say, all right, well, how big is this supposed to be in comparison to another thing? Um, I see 47 has switched over to Twitch. Thank you. You know, get some streamers, some viewers on Twitch now. And he says, "Yeah, I better get started on my work as well." I see busy bees, peak content. Okay, but yeah, yeah, I saw that that King of Hearts piece. It's that's nice. Let me see here. I'm trying to figure out now. Talking while streaming while looking up stuff slowly start. This is where my processor starts to lag. My brain is chugging. Um, but yeah, I can go through and look at the rest of the links after the stream. But yeah, it looks like you've got some fun stuff there. I didn't know if you wanted some sort of feedback or whether you just wanted me to check it out and see what I thought. Like I think it's for drawing and just having some fun with it. It's a nice sketch. All right, I'm trying to sit here and figure out what else I need on this piece to finish up the line work. So let's see here. Feels like just about everything that needs to be in here is in here. Yeah, I'm just sort of giving it a mental once over here. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world to finish, move into like color, and then realize, oh, wait, I need to add this line or this detail. But the better, the closer you can get to having everything done. Well, I mean, there is definitely times when it is going to be a supreme pain in the ass to want to change anything once you've moved into the color stage. So it is definitely good to try and lock all of that down. But there are some artists, and I have not reached necessarily that I have not reached that stage yet. But there's definitely some artists who, if they have a flat piece and they just see that it's not working, um, they'll just throw another layer on top and just redraw that entire section. So it's not about erasing, correcting, changing the line artwork underneath, and then changing the color underneath. They'll just slap a patch on top in terms of a layer and fix just whatever needed to be fixed. And yeah, Mercadian Merchant says, I don't mind feedback, but I just wanted to share because these aren't that bad and I had fun doodling them. Well, good. I'm happy to hear it and thank you for sharing. I will go through the chat after the stream and I'll look at all of them. I just didn't want to spend the whole stream going through because the fact that I can't click the links directly is just going to make it take longer for me to get to each one. But it looked cool. Hmm. There's something about this guy in the front here that I am not happy with. It's that this, let me undo that. This square is a little bit too much of the same size as this one and that one. And I feel like it needs to be smaller in order to really give a sense of a better sense of rhythm in the actual art. In fact, I think I'll try to draw what will be the horizontal separators first, and then draw the vertical ones. Let's see, that looks weird as well. Sometimes the real challenge is just trying to make sure a piece doesn't feel too monotonous. And I think that was the problem. That is the problem because now that as I'm changing it, it's a matter of what there's an interesting challenge because what feels like organically would be correct in terms of like faking the snake anatomy or faking the snake scales, what feels like it should be correct is a little bit visually monotonous. So it's how do you contain the sense of, oh, this feels realistic, like I'm not faking snake scales, while at the same time adding a bit of excitement to the visual spacing. So it's a little bit of a challenge. Mercadian Merchant says, Sussy Snake. It says, didn't you do one where they were all different species of snake? Well, it's not necessarily that I did one. Well, let me see. Where's my reference layer? My reference layer is not in this file because I had started drawing it and then realized I was doing the wrong resolution for a print piece. Oh, well, here's a file I can show you. This is a completely different illustration, but I went through and I had a whole variety of different snakes to look at in terms of building the heads around. So it's not necessarily that I feel like it's the wrong species of snake. It's more just simply that because if you look at all these, the patterns are that build up their faces, they are similar, but they're not exactly correct. I mean, they're not exactly alike. And it's more about if I were to draw this over on the side, it's the fact that I've got like, let me see if I can show on a diagram here. I've got a plane here and a plane there and a plane here and a plane there. No, even that is not what I'm trying to do is oddly enough, now that I'm trying to make them exact, I can't get them exact and it's feeling a little bit more organic. My point is that these are all fairly similar, like 1, 2, 3, 4. They all feel very samey. And what makes things feel more interesting from a design perspective is variation. So if I were to come in and have plane 1 is small, or well, plane 4. I'm still going to do it from the top to the bottom. So that's it. This is 4. And then have 3 be longer. And actually maybe do it at an angle like that. 3 be a little bit longer. And then 2 maybe longer than the first one I did, number 4 there, but still noticeably shorter than the one that came before it. And then the last one being also long. So In fact, for this, it feels like I might need to push this a little bit more. That's the challenge, really. And that's what made me want to erase things, is it felt like in the previous version of the snake, if we're talking about these scales that are moving up and down the face, the one that I originally had on there felt pretty stable, but it felt more like this. And what I'm trying to do is create more variation. And it may be that it's a thin line and I might have overcorrected in terms of what I've sketched out here so far. But let me come in here and get rid of these little sketches, little diagrams, and give it another shot. Yeah, 47 it says if it gets too much like wallpaper. If it gets too much like wallpaper, I like to vignette it out. Yeah, that's a good way. It's just sitting there and doing a little diagram. That's my thing is diagramming on the side and checking everything out. And very thoughtful reminder from Orchidean Merchant. May I remind y'all to please hydrate. Which you know what? Let's all take a moment, have a little hydration break. I had a little coffee before the live stream, but I always keep a water bottle next to here in case I get dry mouth from running my yap all stream. All right, all right. I'm just gonna erase. I'm like, where's Amar yelling at me about being a perfectionist? He should be here to stop me from this madness. I'm just going to erase these, take another shot, but try to really pay attention to what we were talking about before in terms of making everything the same. Because now that I erase these, the pale undersketch that you can see below, you really can see that these are just sort of evenly divided squares. Slightly larger. Now, see, that is an interesting idea, and I'm not sure if I can. I'm going to try some shit that I don't know if I can pull off. We'll see. But as I look at this, I see the problem is that the way I sketched it, the one that's in the middle is a little bit larger, and then you've got one that's slightly smaller on the bottom, and then one that's significantly smaller on the top. And what I ended up doing was making it, when I drew it, I went from smallest to medium to large. That's what I ended up drawing in the inks. So what I need to do, and I don't know if it's going to work at all, it may come out looking really weird, is I actually need to, instead of bringing this lower plane up, which it feels like the snake's under the eye socket should be like the cheekbone should be there. But if anything, for the rest of it, it feels like this should go down further and make the lower part larger. So let me see if I can find a way to make that work visually. I'm going to start by reinforcing, because it definitely, no matter what, it's going to look weird if the serpent doesn't have a cheekbone around its eye socket. If I were to go back to my that little patch of reference there, like you can see on this snake that around the eye socket there's a cheekbone. I mean, we don't think of snakes as having cheeks, but there's still a cheekbone around the eye socket for every single one of these guys. No matter how weird and creepy they're looking. Yeah, look at this guy. That guy has a healthy cheekbone. This one, both of these two, healthy cheekbones. bumpy cheekbones, but healthy cheekbones. So what I'm going to do, I mean, and also this is a lot of work for one snake in an image full of snakes, but it bothers me to not try to get it right. So what I'm gonna do is try and create just a mass around the eye. And this mass will give the sense of the cheekbone. And then beyond that mass, that's where I'm gonna try and really play with that element that I was talking about of making this surface longer and then making it smaller down here. And what's also interesting that I'm noticing about my work is that Mercidia Merchant says, "Screamo snakes be like, ah!" Yeah, those snakes are all. Well, it was intentionally. I had realized on not this piece because I realized actually all of these snakes are incredibly calm. None of them have their mouths open. But when I was doing the snakes on a mane, the horse piece, I had drawn several snakes with their mouths open in attack, and I realized that I had drawn fangs on both the upper and lower jaw. And then upon further reference, that's what that whole sheet that of the screaming snakes was me looking at them and just trying to find a huge variety of snakes with their mouths open and be like, nope, nope, nope. Snakes do not have lower fangs. Because I was thinking, when we look at something like a wolf or a lion, they have sharp teeth, they have upper incisors and lower incisors. So when you look at a mammal, a predator mammal, it's natural for us to think of sharp teeth on both the top and the bottom, pointed fang-like teeth. Because I had never done any type of deep study of snake anatomy, I made a fatal mistake, which was I applied my knowledge of mammals' teeth to reptile teeth, assuming they would be the same. They are not. And this is why reference becomes important. It's not in terms of a being photographically real, because again, nothing I do is photorealistic, but it's about creating a sound sense of logic. I just left the comment in there. It's about creating a sound sense of logic within a piece. Like, is whatever the laws are you build up of the world, you don't want someone to get pulled out of that. And a big way to pull someone out of, like, you can do the wildest, most distorted piece in the world, but if you've got something in there that people are like, wait a minute, why does that car have like 7 wheels? That's weird. So like, why does that snake have fangs on the bottom as well as the top? If you put something in there that someone's going to look at it and immediately think, well, that doesn't make any sense, that's a fail. That's where reference comes in. It's like helping you create works that are at least logical. And it makes you realize what things, you could do a piece with fangs on, with a serpent with fangs on its lower jaw. But if you do, that should be part of the piece. There should be, visually, you're seeing something and you're like, oh my God. Like, you're like, oh my God, that snake has fangs on its lower jaw. Like, the image is maybe showing them doing something with their lower jaw, this snake that only had upper jaw fangs could do. So you're seeing that maybe it's something where this snake has evolved for a special purpose to have fangs on the lower jaw. That thing that quote unquote isn't right has a story logic to it. That's the reason when you would deviate from reality is for a purpose. So that's where the screaming sheet comes from. Let me see here. 47 is says Jeremy has Medusa and her doomed lover down pat. Um, Wikidian Merchant says, speaking of Gorgons, I always liked the Medusa and her blind lover trope. Well, that's funny. I did those multiple pieces of her lover not being blind, but her lover being turned to stone. So now there's something there. Let's see here. Now, see, that is interesting. 47 is says, with some art jobs, the first 1 or 2 days are just spent collecting references. And he also says, in college, they made us spend the first week just collecting reference, which, see, my program was not an illustration program. My program that I went to was a fine art school. I would have killed to have someone who took the time. I've never thought that using reference was cheating, but I think a big part of that mistaken belief is that a lot of art students are not properly taught how to use reference. And no one ever showed me how to use reference. And I have used reference I use reference way more now because I've studied the use of it and have a better sense of how it is used. But no one ever properly walked me through that. And I spent years struggling and making weird, wonky things, just not, I mean, I still make wonky things now, but now it's from lack of ability as opposed to lack of knowledge that of how reference even should be used. So I'd rather fail on my own merits than just fail out of ignorance. Um, where was I going with that? Point being is that I think that's actually really cool. I wish that I had been in a program where they actually made us get reference. The closest that I ever came was a class where the assignment was to do a Trump Lloyd piece. Actually, you know what? That Trump Lloyd piece that wasn't even in college. That was in high school. And for those who don't know, a Trump Lloyd is an assemblage of three-dimensional objects. So, like, let's say that you took, imagine almost like a still life. Like you just took, like I've got a little reference skull here, and you took a feather and some pens and a couple of books, and you composed all of them. But then instead of it being a still life where you're looking straight forward at it, almost imagine if you're looking down at a flat surface, like a table that has a bunch of objects. So it's like trying to take a bunch of things that look like they should be laying on a flat surface, but then drawing them like they're three-dimensionally, realistically coming off of that surface. It's kind of a weird effect, and it's funny. The only reason why it's fresh in my mind is because it's something that somebody brought up in my no, it's something I think that Carl Ganas brought up in the class I've been taking. But sometimes I say but because I'm stalling because I think that I'm gonna have a follow-up statement, and then it just peters out. I don't have a follow-up. But is my same version as or all those little phrases that people say when they are talking publicly, the ums and ahs. I tend not to and ah, but I will throw extra words in there to stall for time while I'm trying to finish my thought or find a interesting way to cap it. And sometimes I just acknowledge that that's the end of the statement. I thought there was something coming afterwards, and there's not. That's it. So it is not a great serpent head, but at least it feels like it's not as repetitive as the previous one I drew. And I will take that. That to me is a win. Would you believe I'm still not happy with the snake head? I might have to go in, grab my reference, and find a Mercadian merchant is like, but loading, please wait. Let's see here. Yes, Mercadian merchant also agrees. Reference are like super important. 47S says we all. Oh wait, I know what I think you're talking about. He says we all live and learn. And the Trump lawyer, he says, I think I know what you're talking about. I feel like it's the kind of painting I'd seen in an office lobby. Yeah, yeah, I can see some stuff like that. Serpent head, now with 100% more cheek. I think it bothers me because this snake is so right in the front of the image. It bothers me that it's off. I will tell you that I would absolutely not care and not take the time to fix this snake if he were one of the ones like back here or back here. But because he's up in the foreground, it's like he's a participating, he's like part of the starring cast. Um, I think I'm going to have to find some reference and rework that snake head until it's really good because of how close up to the front. Let me see what happens if I turn this off and just look at my see my rough sketch underneath. It's a bit repetitive, but it's not that bad. Let me erase all the insides and try going back to that. That's my last step before saying, all right, I definitely need some reference. Now, one of the things I will say is I might be wasting my time by trying to go back and fix this without reference because 9 times out of 10, I have found that when a drawing is coming out wrong, when there's a problem with this specific area, the problem is simply I needed reference. I don't know how to draw that thing. So odds are that reference will fix this a lot faster than me trying and trying various things. But I will tell you that watching me look for reference for a piece online, that will not be interesting for you guys to watch. I mean, it could be interesting for you guys to watch, but I do try to keep my pencil moving and keep the drawing moving while we're talking. So if what I'm saying isn't particularly fascinating or enlightening, at least you're watching some artistic process, and it's kind of like some eye candy. And the times when I'm not saying anything and I'm quiet, or you know what, the point being is that I tend to slow down on the drawing or stop drawing when I'm getting into something that I think is actually really important to convey to you guys, or something that just takes me some thought to work out. But just sitting and looking up reference, trying to find a snake head from a similar angle. Maybe there is a world where that's fascinating to you guys. It might just be my own prejudices, but I imagine that unless the person searching for the reference is talking about something highly fascinating, that just watching someone looking up reference for a drawing online would not be that exciting. And in the meanwhile, we're almost at the yeah, we're at the top of the hour, so it's about time to cap it here. What I will tell you is I'm gonna real quick try and block in this snake head again and see if I can get closer. So if you have any last final comments or thoughts before we call the stream, you are welcome to share them or ask now. And if not, I'll take a quick stab at this block in and see if I can save it by going back to the simplest version of my sketch. And if that doesn't do the trick, then I will be going to Reference Town after this. 47S says, the snake is breaking the fourth wall. Yes. Yes, it is. Mercidian Merchant and 47S are like, time flies. Yeah, time is jetting. Speaking of which, for those who are Patreon subscribers, I just remembered I posted a link on Patreon and on Discord. Tomorrow is the first art book study group of the month. So we will be doing that at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that, for the rest of you, that is the session, the Patreon exclusive live stream where we dig into some of the best art books around, try to suck out all the knowledge we can. We've been doing a long series on Walt Reed's The Figure, which I think is one of the best fundamental figure drawing books. When we're talking about just understanding the human form at its most basic sense, that book to me is one of the best on the topic. So we've been going through that page by page, and I basically show you the way that I use art books, which is I sit down with the book, I copy the pages, but I'm not copying them in the sense of doing a master study. I'm not trying to draw exactly what is on each page. It is much more that I am trying to draw for understanding. So whether it looks like the drawing of the author of the book or not is irrelevant. What matters to me is, did I get a good sense of what the concepts are that they are trying to describe? Does it look like the ideas that the author is trying to express in the book? Not look visually, but are the concepts, when I look at the page, do I see an understanding of what I read? And it sounds a little bit weird to explain. I'm not sure if it makes sense in words. It makes a lot more sense when you see them. And if you do a search on my channel for Art Book Study Group, you can find over the years since I've been doing it, because I've been doing it for a couple of years. Over the years I've been doing it, I'll usually, once or twice a year, I'll take a Art Book Study Group that's Patreon exclusive and I'll make it public so that, the rest of you guys can see what we're doing over there. So if you're curious about what it is that I'm talking about, what these studies look like, and you're interested in checking them out before becoming a Patreon subscriber, by all means, do a search on my channel for Art Book Study Group, and you'll see the public-facing videos. And I will say that this piece does feel better coming back and taking this revised attempt at just trying to pay attention to. I think that's the problems. I fell into a weird place where the scales that I was drawing were not staying true to the basic planes, basic volumes that I was trying to express. Because the actual advantage of drawing all these scales is that they act as a cross contour. Like if you can see these little circles that are going around the tube of the snake's body as I move across, those are cross contour lines. So a contour line is a line that moves along the outside. It is the contour, it's the outline, it's the silhouette. The cross contour basically expresses the volume of the form. For instance, there's a cross contour line right here that if I copy, it's just like that. And that tells you, oh, the form goes like this. Now, if you were to take that exact same contour line and go like this, and then a big leap, and then back out, and then come over here, big leap, and then back out, that would give you a sense that there is some bump in the body That's a really bad execution of cross contour. Um, I'm getting one of those things where sometimes my hand just gets wonky, and no matter what I'm trying to express, it doesn't want to express what I'm trying to express. But the idea here is that this gives you a sense that there's some sort of form coming off the snake's body, like as if it was a dragon that had like a spine running all the way through it. And with the scales themselves are a form of cross contour. And I got sort of caught up in this battle between trying to make the scales themselves, the spacing, trying to make the spacing between them, between the different planes, feel interesting. I got caught up in a trap between trying to make that happen, making them feel interesting, versus having them describe the volume of the snake's head. So now that I'm coming back and I'm looking at this through analyzing it more volumetrically, I fell off of my main roadmap there. So now it's just a matter of getting back to the basics. But on that note, I'm going to take a look here and see if there's any final comments. And hey, Martin's in the chat. Hey, man. Said, sorry I'm late. You know what? Better late than never. As damn it, what was the name of the tax accountant from Frank Miller's Hard Boiled? Nixon. Like as Nixon said, better late than never. Let's see here. 47ist says, I hope I can catch one of those again. They said, I'm sure nature, as you covered there on the roadmap. Yeah. I'm getting it worked out there. But the art book study groups, again, just like these live streams, the archives are still there for replay. So if you ever feel like just having them on in the background, if you don't get enough of me yapping at you regular, there's another. I just recently reposted the Patreon exclusive playlist on the Discord server and on the actual Patreon page. So at this time, it says that there's 65 Patreon exclusive videos on there. And I know that at least 50 of them are art book study groups, which means 50 videos times about 3 hours each. So 150 hours of just me studying from art books. So if anybody really wants to, if they're like, if this ain't enough for you and you want to go deep, that's what that's there for. So on that note, we're going to wrap things here, guys. Thank you so much for all the great comments and feedback as usual. I love the conversation, the talking art process and sharing. Mercadia Merchant, again, thank you for sharing those links. I'm definitely going to go back and take a look. As a matter of fact, let me, on my end, I just want to make sure that if for some reason I have a hard time going back and finding the comments on Twitch, I'm going to scroll back and take a screenshot here so that I can see directly from my computer. I can see the links that you posted. But I'll definitely go back and look at those. Thank you again for sharing your work. So, whoops, there we go. Bring back my banners. As I mentioned before, our book study group is a reward for Patreon subscribers. We've got one coming up tomorrow, Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The replays will be available. And if you're on there live, we've got a Discord voice channel open. So instead of just chatting in the text, which you're always welcome to do, you can also just talk directly to me. That's one of the big things I like is, people show up every once in a while. We have some conversations while I'm drawing. So you can get access to that. You get access to an online archive of my comic books so you can read them digitally. And you get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord server where we share process, feedback, work in progress, tips, art tools, and just general shop talk and more for as little as $2 a month. There's links in the description for the video. And if you're watching on Twitch, if you go to the About tab, there's links there, or at least it'll take you to a link tree that will show you all my different links. There's higher tiers if you want to support at a higher level or get additional rewards. I may do custom videos where I go through and give feedback on your drawings with notes. All of that at the higher tiers, but $2 a month gets you in for the basics. So head on over and sign up. If you like to get a free digital sketchbook, like to get work in progress animated GIFs delivered right to your inbox, blog posts about what I'm reading, what I'm watching, what's inspiring me creatively, you can sign up for my free monthly newsletter at newsletter.jeremy.net. And if you'd like to purchase physical copies of my comic books, or if you read digitally on Comixology or Kindle, you can go to amazon.jeremy.net. You can pick up books like my first graphic novel, Eye of the Gods. It is a psychological thriller about a man cursed with visions he cannot control. You can also pick up my most recent comic book series, Morning Star. It's Lucifer's Fall from Heaven, told as a Western. It's an 8-issue series. Volume 1 contains issues 1 through 4. Volume 2 is the conclusion. It contains issues 5 through 8. Both volumes have extensive back matter, character sketches, thumbnails, page layouts, script excerpts, photo reference, and more. You can check all of that out at amazon.jeremy.net. And as I've also said before, if you go to the homepage of the YouTube channel, there's book flip-throughs. You can see everything inside the book before picking it up. All right, guys. Again, thank you so much. I love you guys. It's super fun having you guys to hang out. And hang on, accidentally clicking old comments. All right, guys. Thanks so much. I also see. Okay. At 47 this, I saw the comment about passing the info along. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Always happy to have you guys help get the word out. That's it for now. Go be creative.